This is one of the most stunning pieces of footage. Now, I've heard some reports that say that Wilbur Ross is just completely out of it.
Falls asleep at meetings.
Yeah, that he's just completely out of it. But he seems to be not completely out of it here, but just completely out of touch. And here he is being interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin. So this is really the functional equivalent of like...
Wait, this is his name?
Well, Andrew Ross Sorkin?
Yeah.
This is a home game.
Yeah, this is a home.
Yeah,
this is
like
beyond
one of the most
home
Wall
game.
Street reporters in the history of life on Earth.
Right. I mean, I don't want to say like this would be like my sister Julie interviewing me.
She would be more adversarial.
She would be more adversarial. Yeah. And so here he is on. This is a guy, if you'll remember, Andrew Ross Sorkin. When Occupy first started, he was the one who bragged about fielding calls from financial leaders asking whether they should be afraid of what was going on in Zuccotti Park. And here he is interviewing Wilbur Ross, and Wilbur Ross is just like, wait a second. Just you be quiet for a second. I'm digging a hole here, and I don't want to be interrupted.
Mr. Secretary, I wanted to come back for just a moment to the U.S. government shutdown. While here in Davos, I interviewed Alex Karp. He's the CEO of Palantir, a major government contractor in the United States, working on behalf of the Pentagon and the Defense Department. He said that the government shutdown, he believed, was terribly damaging to the brand of our country. Do you believe that?
Pause it for a second. Contemplate what it takes to ask this question in this manner.
The framing is completely from that perspective.
It is.
That's why he cares.
It is sociopathic. I've just spoken to a contractor who thinks that our brand is being hurt by this.
We should note Palantir is Peter Thiel's
right,
company.
right.
And it's super bad for the brand.
Okay.
Believed was terribly damaging to the brand of our country. Do you believe that?
I think that's a great deal of hyperbole. We've had shutdowns before, albeit for not such a long period as we've been thus far. Put it in perspective, you're talking about 800,000 workers, and while I feel sorry for the individuals that have hardship cases, 800,000 workers, if they never got their pay, which is not the case, they will eventually get it. But if they never got it, you're talking about 1/3% on our GDP. So it's not like it's a gigantic number overall.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. Secretary, there are reports that there are some federal workers who are going to homeless shelters to get food.
Well, I know they are, and I don't really quite understand why, because as I mentioned before, the obligations that they would undertake, say a borrowing from a bank or a credit union, are in effect federally guaranteed. So the 30 days of pay that some people will be out, there's no real reason why they shouldn't be able to get a loan against it. And we've seen a number of ads from financial.
Yeah, you can hear him. You can hear Ross Sorkin going like, "Okay, yeah, let's. I mean, this is too much of a train wreck. I mean, I'll never be able to have another government official on again." I mean, first off, I don't, like this harkens back to what's his face from Vietnam, well, the guy from Ford. McNamara, right? Like, look, it's just 800,000 people. That's a drop in the bucket.
Just some dumb kids.
Even if they never got paid,
0.3% of our GDP.
It's
less than
unbelievable. And he's also sort of implying like they're up to something fishy, going to get the free food.
They should be responsible and get payday loans.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I know. I mean, it's like this old-timey view of banking, right? I feel like it's straight out of It's a Wonderful Life. Oh, I'll just go down to the local bank, take out a $50 loan for my.
Speaking of which.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we
for
should.
my
Yeah, I think you're.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're
not just the loans.
The George Bailey method.
For a guy like Wilbur Ross, you can do that. You walk into the bank, and it's like, oh, hello, Mr. Ross. shall we get you your typical drink?
I made
he
a
doesn't
joke that
actually have to go. The banker probably goes to him.
Yeah, no, I made a joke that he's the kind of guy that thinks a bag of potatoes costs $400, right? Because he's just never been to a grocery store. He's like that. What's her name from Arrested Development? Lucille Bluth.
No clue
No
whatsoever.
Like,
and
you could take out a loan, get a bag of potatoes.
but the idea of just like, it's a bridge loan. You get a bridge loan, and it's federally backstopped because the federal government's going to pay off, as if you could walk into a bank and there's a loan officer there who's just like has the authority to say, "Oh, sure, we'll give you a non-securitized loan based
There was
upon
some
the fact that
cartel
you're
money I was watching through Cyprus, and there was an Interpol red notice on it for a minute. So I needed a bridge. I think a lot of people could learn from that.
It's stunning. And here is Donald Trump, not to be
just-
outdone
right.
by his commerce secretary in terms of complete obliviousness. He also thinks that banking operates like it did. I don't know if it ever operated like this, but as if it's some type of like, small town movie, and you just go down to the general store, and his delusion. I mean, it is amazing. Now, of course, nobody's going to see this, although this is on Fox. So I imagine this is why he's losing support, is that the veneer is really starting to get thin here.
Mr. President, did you see Wilbur Ross said that he doesn't understand why federal workers would need help getting food? Can you understand?
No, I haven't heard the statement, but I do understand. Perhaps he should have said it differently. Local people know who they are when they go for groceries and everything else. And I think what Wilbur was probably trying to say is that they will work along. I know banks are working along. If you have mortgages, the mortgagees, the folks collecting the interest and all of those things, they work along. And that's what happens in time like this. They know the people, they've been dealing with them for years, and they work along. The grocery store. And I think that's probably what Wilbur Ross meant, but I haven't seen his statement, no. But he's done a great job, I will tell you that. Yes.
Take that for a test spin.
What does work along mean?
Work along by the All-American Rejects in that song.
Work along like I know you
How?
do.
I mean, this guy is completely imagining a world for people that simply does not exist. I mean, at a hardware store upstate that I go to quite a bit, people have accounts. Give them your phone number, and they're like, Sam, and yes. And some people, they put it on their bill. Contractors can go in, and they just put it on their bill. They don't need cash right there. They're just picking up stuff, and at the end of the month, they square up. But the idea that there are supermarkets that function like this anymore, like you're going to go into the local Kroger's, and you're going to say to the manager, "Hi, I come in here every week." Okay. Like everybody else here, I have no idea who you are. I just put it on my tab.
Right.
I'll get fired if I do that, sir.
Exactly. Just put it on my tab.
It's like that scene in The Sopranos where they go to shake down like the Starbucks place, and they're just like, it'd be a shame something happened to the windows. They're like, no, you don't get this. Like, every penny in this system is tracked globally. Like, I can't do that for you. And they're just like, there's no room for small business no more.
But, I mean... So you traveled amongst these folks for an extended period of time. Something like that seems to me more than anything else is going to start to crack that veneer a little bit.
There's a 30 to 35% that will never move.
Right. I think that's true.
Yeah. But I do think, my boss Cenk has said this before, the local mom in Kansas or in Indiana, right, who sees... She voted for him because she's socially conservative, fiscally, whatever the case may be. When they see the human costs of decisions like this, that's when that support kind of starts to trickle away. And we're seeing this bear out in the poll numbers. How long they stick, who knows? But I think that it's so obvious who is being blamed for the shutdown, and the narrative is correct. And it's fascinating to see it unfold. He's crumbling a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's true. And even, you track the AP headlines, the Democrats block the Republican version. And then in terms of the Democratic version, it's just both bills fell. And of course, the Democratic one got more votes. And I think all of this is just, had Donald Trump not said on national TV, I'll own it, blame me, I think there would have been a very different story here.
It was actually a very shrewd move by Pelosi and Schumer, which, in hindsight, I thought they kind of looked a little weak on TV where, Schumer's just cowered over saying, we disagree, right? But they got that soundbite. They got a few, and it's worked.